out afterwards. Well, thanks once again for joining us today. My name is Jasper from SCORE. We're here joined by Corey Daigle, who's hosting our amazing presentation, or her real presentation on search engine optimization. SCORE is a resource partner with the SBA, and we offer free mentoring, and over 11 million people have utilized us, as well as I believe over 120 businesses we helped start last year in the state of Maine alone. Without further ado, Corey, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Jasper. Hi, everybody. My name is Corey Daigle. I am the founder of WanderWeb. We're a web design and search engine optimization agency located in Brunswick, Maine. And we specialize in helping local businesses get found online. Excuse me just for a second. Prior to starting my business, I worked in the healthcare arena. I started out as a nurse, and a few years after beginning my professional healthcare career, I went into operational outcome improvement and became certified in process improvement and outcome engagement, and started my business in 2019 after leaving a 20-year career in healthcare. Because I worked in process improvement, my web design business within a year or two became a search engine optimization business, because we weren't just satisfied with creating websites. We wanted to improve how our customers got found online. And it's been a really exciting journey. Search engine optimization is multifaceted. It's simple but not easy, and we'll get into that today. As the presentation goes on, we'll talk about a few different things, but there'll also be an opportunity at the end for some very targeted direct Q&A. Certainly feel free to drop something in the chat, and if it works organically with the presentation, I would be very happy to stop and answer on-the-fly questions that pertain to what we're talking about. But certainly at the end, you'll be able to ask me very specific questions about your business. I don't know if you're able to, but if you can, and if you hover over your name in the upper right-hand corner of your square on Zoom, you can right-click and rename yourself. And I'd love to know what type of business that you have. It helps me give some very specific guidance. So what is search engine optimization? To make it really clear and explain it in a very simple way, it's optimizing your website and online presence to make it easy for Google to find the information that you want to share with potential clients or customers. There's a lot of different types of search engine optimization. You can optimize your website for search engines to crawl. You can optimize your website and online presence for the location search algorithm. And there's also some paid opportunities with search optimization with ads and registry management. Today, we're really going to dig into the free resources that are available to you as an entrepreneur with on-page search engine optimization and location or local search optimization. So we'll talk about on-page SEO. You'll hear me refer to search engine optimization as SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. You'll hear me refer to it as search or straight up search engine optimization. So we'll talk about on-page SEO, local SEO, have a chance to answer some targeted questions, and I'll give you an opportunity to learn how to connect with us. Obviously, you already know how to connect with SCORE, but we'll share those resources at the end as well. The reason I give these presentations, and I do them pretty frequently for SCORE as well as the Small Business Development Center, is when I started my business, I used a lot of the free resources out there, including a SCORE mentor and a Small Business Development Center advisor through Maine SBDC. I served as a small business development advisor for 2 years during COVID as a digital marketing specialist. So I worked with about 200 different clients during that time period, in addition to the clients that we worked with since 2019 to help them get found online. A lot of businesses know that search engine optimization is important, but it's sort of this pie in the sky concept. But it's so important because it does make your website more visible, and it means that you'll get more traffic to your website. And when you do get the traffic to your website, you've optimized things to convert prospects into customers. So you are being found where your customers are looking for you and delivering messaging and a user experience that is meaningful to your customers so they stay with you and don't click away. You'll hear me say a couple times throughout this presentation, you get 2 clicks opportunities, and the client or the customer is going to pick one of them. They're either going to click on your site to make an appointment or whatever your call to action is on your website, or they're going to click that red button up in the upper right-hand corner and go to your competitor. So those are your two options. And so obviously we're going to want the first option. Search engine optimization is important because less than 1% of searches or 1% of people go on past the first page of Google. We'll be talking primarily about Google today. The reason we'll be speaking primarily about Google is because that is where 99% of searches happen. There are other search engines out there. Some people are still using Yahoo. Bing is an option. Safari is an option that people use, but really predominantly Google in the world as it is right now is the primary search engine that most businesses or customers will be using. Everything okay, Jasper?
Doing great. It
Okay,
looks
good.
like people have put in their fields. We've got Jordy, who's in the health, wellness, and fitness field, James, who's in rental management, Linda, who's a tech coach and co-working, and then
Okay.
I'm not sure who is operating a math card game, but I love me some card games. So
Me too. Maybe we can guess if the game is guessing.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, like we said, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I will butt in as we get them.
Thanks, Jasper. All right, back to SEO. So search engine optimization is basically a library indexing of the entire World Wide Web. So what happens is search engines like Google, Bing, Safari use bots or spiders, they call them, to crawl the pages on the web. And they go through all of the sites and every piece of content that exists on the internet, collecting information from those pages and putting them into a giant library that Google essentially remembers and then considers hundreds of ranking factors. We estimate nobody really knows because Google keeps their algorithm a secret, but we do know that Google has around 200 to 220 different ranking factors that they factor into their algorithm. And so when you think about their different algorithms that they have, dependent on the type of search that you're doing, whether you're doing a local search or whether you're looking for a product or whether you're looking for a service, Google, when factoring all of those in, there's just there's no end to the way that these algorithms can function together and the way that maybe the math game guy could help us with the math about how many algorithm variations there would be. I think it's infinite, honestly. So the factors that the algorithms use to determine how to give an answer to the query that someone's placed in the search engine varies dependent upon the user, where they're physically located, what they've typed into the search engine, as well as their history. You'll see the cookies links that or opportunities that you'll see on the internet to like decline or accept, and Google is tracking you through those as well. So factoring all of those things in, and as well as the 200 ranking factors that Google uses, they will estimate how well a website page can give the correct answer for the query that has been placed by the searcher or the customer. And so Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all other search engines, because a lot of our social media channels are now functioning as search engines, truly just want to keep people on their site. That's the whole goal. The only goal they have is to keep people. Google wants people to keep using Google and not leave Google. Facebook wants people to stay on Facebook and not leave Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. And so Google's whole entire purpose is to give people the best answer to the query they have placed, right? And so our job is to think, how do we have the best answer to the query that is being placed? And do we want to get found for certain queries? So let's get into it. On-page search engine optimization is the first part we're going to talk about. On-page search engine optimization is the process of optimizing websites for both content, user experience, and search engines to use. So when we're talking about on-page search engine optimization, the thing that I say when it comes to search engine optimization in general, regardless of whether it's on-page, off-page, local, it doesn't matter. The most important thing you can do is know your customer, right? So when you're speaking to your customer in your content, the images you use, the layout that you pick, the colors that your brand uses, that you use to represent your brand, all of those things should be targeted towards your customer, right? And so I often say the businesses that know their customer the best are the businesses that are successful. I'll say that again because it's so important. It's not who has the best service or product. It's who knows their customer the best and can speak to the problem the customer wants to have solved. Okay. So knowing your customer is incredibly important. And I don't mean by that knowing their biographics, how old they are. We really need to dig into what are they interested in? What shows are they watching? What's funny to them? What generation are they? How do they want to be spoken to? Do they need to have larger font because they're older? Do they, so there's all of these different things that you're thinking through. It's not just, well, my target customer is a 55-year-old female who lives in Delaware, right? Well, you want to be thinking about what are some of the areas of Delaware that you might want to include in your content if you're doing local optimization. You may want to think about, okay, what does a typical customer of my business watch on television? Maybe I can make a reference to a joke for that, right? Maybe a Gilmore's reference or Gilmore Girls reference or something, right? So there's all kinds of different things you can do when it comes to knowing your customers. So they see your content, they see your site, they find you and know, oh, wow, I'm in the right place. And then speaking to them in the language that they would use. So once you have an idea who your customer is, then you really need to dig into the keywords or the search terms that they would use on Google or other search engines. So using the words and phrases they typically would use to search for your content and including that content, those words and phrases in your content gives Google a better understanding of what your site is about. It also allows Google to improve the match between what they're searching for and what they find, so searchers get the actual answer to what they're looking for. So if you're thinking about your customer, which again is probably the most important thing you need to know as a business owner, is who's your customer, what's the problem you solve, right? What are some of the questions that they ask you? That is gold, right? So those are some of the questions that you may want to include in your written content. There's something on every website called a hero section. And if you think about newspapers and the way newspapers used to be, right? You get the newspaper and it's folded up in half like this. And there's this top part and the bottom part. And you flip the newspaper down, you can open it. Well, the top part is called above the fold, right? So in the media world, you always wanted sort of your headline to be above the fold because that was the most popular part of the newspaper that everybody saw. Same with your website. So your website has something called a hero section. And the hero section is it can be on any page, but it typically is on your home page or your landing page, but any page can be a landing page on your website, the page that someone would land on and look at first. That section that before they scroll down, that section on your website is the most prominent, important part of your website. So the hero section is the prominent area at the top of a website, and it's the first thing visitors see. It's usually got the logo and the menu along the top, and it's everything that the user can see or the customer can see before they scroll down. Hero sections are a really important part of web design because it can make or break your website success. There's a ranking factor that Google uses, and we know they use this. It's called user engagement. And so there are a few things that Google looks at is how long someone is staying on your site and if they're doing an action, right? Some actions on your website could be they're scrolling down, they're clicking a button, or they're going to a different page on your site. Those are common actions that Google would measure and look at to see if the response that they gave to a query is a good response, a good answer, or a good link on the Google search page, okay? You'll hear it called search engine result page. So you'll find your hero section most commonly on home pages and other really key pages of your website. That if you have multiple pages of your website, typically my recommendation is to design most, especially the commonly landed on pages of your website, like your home page. If you have an about page, that usually has a large click-through rate, and then sometimes your services page. I typically recommend that you design all of those pages as their own page that can convert a customer that's on your website. And so those pages typically, when we do web design for search engine optimization and for user experience, which is a huge part of search optimization, is we design a hero section on most of those highly clicked pages. On those pages, you would like there's 3 things that you really need to have. Well, 4. And so if you're going to take anything from today's presentation, this is one of the 2 things that I'm going to ask you to take away. The first is your hero section should have what you do, who you do it for, and why you do it, with an opportunity for a call to action or a button, like what you would click on a website. So notice I didn't say taglines, jargon, none of that. What you do, who you do it for, why you do it, with a call to action. And I'll give you an example. WonderWeb is a search engine optimization agency for local businesses to get found online and increase foot traffic. Book your discovery call. Super clear. There's no question about what I do, who I do it for. Notice I didn't say dominate the world online. I really just made it super, super simple. Businesses that have high brand recognition, like Nike or Apple, can get away with having taglines, just do it, or like little cute or interesting, thought-provoking jargon. For small businesses, that typically is not the case. You really need to be very, very clear about what you do, who you do it for, why you do it, or the result that they get with a call to action. There should be no guessing, okay? So that's on the top of your website. People should see it. You've got 3 seconds to convert them. If someone leaves within 3 seconds, Google considers it a bounce or an abandonment. And so you really want someone to stay and engage with your site, click through, go to other pages, scroll down, click a button. You want that engagement because then Google will say, aha, I gave a good answer and people like it. So I'm going to give it again. And that's how search engine optimization works. That's all it is. Each page should have its own meta description. And there's 1,000 different ways to do meta descriptions dependent upon the type of web browser or web content management system that you have. And each of them, you can just Google how to write a meta description for Squarespace, for Shopify, for WordPress, whatever. The meta description, if you look here, you'll see where it says, oh, sorry, I think I'm on the wrong page here. Here, I'll catch you. Meta description, sorry. If you look here, you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see what a meta description is. So if you're looking, say I typed in what is a meta description here. And so these are the queries that came up from Google, right? There's no ads I'm just looking at my other screen. There's no ads showing. So there's nothing that says ad here to the left. So we know that this is an organic result that someone didn't pay for. And here are the answers, how to create the right meta description from Yoast, from Mott's, etc. And then there's the write-up. This is the meta description. This write-up right here that says, with the date, the meta description summarizes the page content, blah, blah, blah. Those meta descriptions can be selected or entered by you onto your website to give Google a starting point on what they should use for a meta description. It doesn't mean that Google will choose to use that meta description, but often they will. So meta descriptions are similar to just a quick and dirty sales pitch on your website. Aim for a couple short sentences, usually around 160 characters before you get the little ... and it cuts off. So make sure that first 160 characters are able to express what you would like to express. Ideally, include your target keyword and avoid having the same meta description on every single page. So making it meaningful and descriptive, matching what that page is for. So if it's your about page, you would like to have an about page meta description. If it's your home page, you want to describe your home page or what the business is about, right? So that is how meta descriptions work. Another really impactful factor for websites and really for all of your marketing materials is your content, the writing that you do. And typically content it's very rare that it should not be conversational style. And so I often see people that are doing their own content writing either make it seem like it's a paper that you're submitting or not really get to the gist of it, or it's too long. You know, we are all trained in high school and in post-secondary education to write to a certain word count. And I often have clients ask, well, what's the best word count for a page? And my answer is always, well, it's the exact word count that your customer needs in order to make a decision, right? And so making sure that your content is easy to read. And the way that you start making it easy to read is really optimizing your headlines. Your headlines are the section dividers and the larger font on every part of your website that people kind of read first and decide if they're going to read further. People who are reading online, your customers, are reading in a very different way than they will be reading something on paper. And you'll notice this if you think about the way that you look at something online. You sort of skim it top to bottom and decide if it's worth reading. And so you'll skim and read the headlines very quickly and maybe scroll. And if it's worthwhile or you figure it's valuable content, then you'll dig in and read the content a little further. So keeping those headlines really catchy, the headline's only goal is to get you to the first sentence. And the first sentence's goal is only to get you to the second sentence, right? Or to the call to action. So really what your goal is to move someone through the story. All right. So your headlines have got to be amazing. They've got to rock, because if you don't optimize those and make them great and interesting, then the rest of your website will not get read. It's also important, if you can, to integrate the keywords or the search terms that you would anticipate that someone would look for you online into those headlines. Google, there's a hierarchy that Google looks at, and it's in the back-end coding of a website. And if you're using a website builder, it's already built in for you. If you're doing a headline, it's automatically got the site tags on it. And Google will read those first and recognize those as priority. So having your headlines include some of the content that someone might use in a search engine lets Google really understand who you are and what you're about. Google cannot infer context or critical thinking as far as what the goal of your business is necessarily. And so we'll talk about that in this slide, where it comes to alt tags. So if you have images on your website, please use them strategically. Please don't put any additional images that you don't need. Simple is always better. There are some very specific circumstances where you might want to have a lot of images, but those are more for portfolio websites and less for product and services websites. So for your products, you want to have product images. For your services, you want to have experiential images of your service or what it's like to work with you, right? And each of those images should have something called an alt tag associated with the image. So the image should have its own name and then an alternative tag. So the potential benefit for this, and I'm going to tell you how to do it because there's a real strategy to it, but the potential benefit for this is huge. Your photos stand at an opportunity to get found in image search results and video now, because video is big, which means more traffic to your website, ideally. So adding relevant keywords, phrases, or queries that your potential clients would type into Google when looking for you is something you should consider. You also want to describe the image simply and accurately so search engines understand what's going on. Because Google, like I said, can read an image now with AI, but they don't know the goal of the image, right? And so I'll give you an example. So this picture on this slide is of a financial advisor that we worked with a few years ago at WanderWeb to create a website. And his name is Mike Toole. And he is the owner of a financial firm located in Bangor. Now, so because we created this website for a financial firm, we called this image Michael Toole, owner, ClearPoint Capital, Bangor, Maine, financial advisor, right? Which is an accurate image description or alt tag. However, if this was an image that we were using for a product, say we were selling suits and it was a site that the business sold business suits, right? And so we would describe this image very differently because we don't care that it's Michael Toole. Like this is, in this case, we would describe this as if this was a model. We would say gray suit, blue shirt, striped tie, right? If we were selling glasses, we probably would describe like horn rim glasses, right? If we were, for men, if we were just doing this as a generic image, I would say man in suit, right? Or if this were a background image that did not matter to the website, we would call it null, N-U-L. And that the reason that's important is so that Google doesn't index that image for you, but also when screen readers work or for accessibility reasons, you want to, if it's not an important image, you should name it null for accessibility purposes. Video content is the same thing. So do you see how Google can't necessarily infer the goal of your website? So if my goal to create a website were to sell suits, my alt tag strategy would be very different than if it were to introduce a service for a financial advisor. So that's kind of how alt tags work. And just naming your image is fine, but really being a little bit more strategic about it without overdoing it. You definitely don't want to add all your keywords or phrases or do anything that would involve keyword stuffing. You just want to give enough information that if you read it out loud, it would make sense. Okay. Same with your written content. When you're when you're creating content to go on your website or any of your marketing materials, I strongly recommend read them out loud. And if it's not something that you would say or that flows really well, it probably needs some editing. Video, as an aside, is huge in Google right now for search opportunities. And so anytime you can use video, that's great. I do have a caveat for Google is if you're the best practice right now is to keep the video less than 30 seconds when you upload it to maybe your Google business page or something, because otherwise it won't load. That may change in the future, but that's the criteria right now. Making your website have an amazing user experience is also important. So there's a few things that I see with DIY web designers. The first is making your website compact and squishing everything together. And so it's really quite important to make your website easy and enjoyable, and have some white space for the eye to rest, okay? Making sure things work well, they're easy use, they flow in a way that makes sense. I love this image here of a design versus user experience. So the designer designed the park to have this angle where someone has to sort of walk around. But you can see that the users, or the people that are actually walking, sort of cut across the path, and they've created their own path over the years. That's user experience. The designer, they were not thinking about the user or the person walking when they designed this park. They were thinking about design. And so functionality trumps design every single time. So with that in mind, simplify. Make your content skimmable. Give your website room where the eye can rest. Definitely don't have text that goes all the way across the website, because eye fatigue happens from reading left to right, not top to bottom, right? So because people are skimming top to bottom, you sort of want to keep things on the narrower side if you can, okay? Just keep it super simple. And have a really, really clear ask. So be clear about what you're asking your customers to do. Be clear about what you want them to do. Don't assume that your visitor knows that you want them to schedule a discovery session or buy now or shop this product, right? They don't know that. So whether you want them to submit a form, give you their email address, learn more, which is not a great call to action, but it is one that's frequently used, state that, make it really clear, and use it in a language that anyone can understand. Your calls to action should also stand out, so they're noticed with usually colors that pop in some way or another. There's lots of color theory about whether it should be like yellow. It doesn't matter as long as it pops and it stands out. Warm colors do tend to convert a little bit higher than cooler colors, but overall, it doesn't really matter. You just make sure your button stands out, and that that it's really clear what they're going to do. If they click on the button, are they going to get to your calendar and be able to book an appointment? Make it clear. So those are essentially what needs to be done for on-page optimization. With that in mind, what questions do you have about your website itself? Are there any questions coming out right now? Jasper, anything popping up?
We had a message that someone's looking forward to the recording. I would say a question that I would personally have is, where on the screen would you say that it should be? Should you have some, a contact form, right at first thing, or should you have some information before it? I guess would be one topic that I would love to know more on.
Yeah, and I hate to say it depends, because that is what you could answer to anything, but really it's being strategic about the goal of your website. So if your goal is for them to give you their contact information with a contact form, then yes, you may want to have it higher up in the hierarchy on the website, or even in the hero section. We've done that before for, say, a home inspector, or a business where you don't need to have a ton of information in order to say, like, hey, I just need a consultation, like my house had a little fire and I need to have restoration done, or so, you just are sort of like looking around and getting bids. So in those cases, we've done a contact form right in the hero section. In other cases, what we've done is just a button that leads to other things, or whether it's to schedule an appointment or to learn, to go into a product or service or to shop. So it depends on the goal of the website and what you're trying to achieve, and also what you think your customer would do organically in that spot. So if you're thinking through your customer journey, you definitely want to give that. Like if your customer is going to say like, well, they would or normally click here to get to the about page, give them an opportunity to click to the about page there. Don't make them search for it and make it hard for them. Does that answer your question?
Perfect. Yeah. So it'll
Okay.
help with our own score internal website as well.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to take a look.
Would be great.
Yeah. Okay. So we've kind of handled on-page optimization. Again, it's all simple things, but it's overwhelming when you think about it as a whole. So my advice would be just do one thing at a time. Just do one, right? Let's move on. And I'd like to talk to you about how to capture 28% of searches online that result in a sale. This is my favorite search algorithm and my favorite type of search engine optimization. We're going to talk about local search engine optimization. So this is specifically for businesses that serve a physical location or a geographic area. So this is a different type of search that people use, and you'll often hear the near me searches, right? Like Brunswick search engine optimization specialist, right? That would be a local search. So when we talk about that type of search, we're looking at a physical region, location, or a site, okay, an address. This is a great way if you are a local business or you serve a local region to get found. I love local search engine optimization. 97% of people that search for local services are trying to find a local business. Okay. This is why I love local SEO. 97% of people that do a local search are actively looking for a service or business to work with, to buy from. Okay. 1 in 4, more than 1 in 4, 28% of those searches result in a sale. So local search is highly effective because I almost said infective, effective, because those searches are high intent, high value searches. You want to capture as a local business, you want to capture those searches. You want to get found on those searches because 1 in 4 or more of those searches are going to result in a sale. They're not doing research. They're looking for a result. Okay. So let's talk about some of the things that we need to do to make sure you're found locally. All right. The first is going back to your website. This is an on-page local search tool. Have your business name, address, and phone number on every page of your website, ideally near the top of your page. Okay. For those of you that don't have a physical location, but you serve a region, so for example, WanderWeb, we serve New England and Maine, really like, Maine, New Hampshire predominantly. So we have that on our website that we serve those areas. If you don't have a physical location, just list the region you serve. It could be the counties, it could be the state, it could be the town, it could be in really big cities in the borough that you serve. Like if I were working with a new company from New York, and I would really make sure that I knew what areas of New York City that they were serving, right? To include that in the content. That is very important for local search. So remember I said if you're going to do 2 things today, one of them we talked about earlier. This one is the second ask that I have for you is claim your Google business page. If you have not claimed and optimized your Google business page, you are missing out on those local search opportunities. Okay. Your Google business listing is what will come up on maps. People are using maps a lot as a search engine now. For example, they'll type in restaurant near me, right? Right into Google Maps. They'll type in dog walker. But along with that, they're using, so you'll get a double whammy because you've got the search engine, Google itself, which will show the map pack, those 3 top results that you get when you're searching for something near you. But you'll also get the organic search page, the search engine itself. And so again, I love local search. It's just so effective for these for these main businesses that we love to work with. So your Google business page lists your contact information, business hours, all the other essential details when you're closed for holidays, the products and services you serve or offer. There's a lot that you can put onto your business page. Selecting your business category is also really important. For your business page, you can select one primary category and up to 10 secondary categories. Those are really important to select. And the other thing that you can do on your Google business page is get reviews. And so I love, again, local search because your reviews are right there. 88% of customers trust an online review as much as if you were talking to your friend and said, hey, where should I go for this? Right? So as much as a personal recommendation, these are great ways to get some trust and authority and social proof in your business. So it's a crucial factor that shoppers make when they're deciding where to make a purchase. And I'll just ask you about the last time you went to Amazon. Did you scroll down and look at the reviews? I do 100% of the time, and it makes or breaks my decision. So those reviews are really important. The more confident your customers feel in you, the more likely they are to buy. So Google uses basically three things in the local algorithm when it comes to maps, but also you've got all of these other factors for the other algorithms. But the first is where you physically are located or the region you serve, okay? The second is your primary and secondary categories that you've selected. And the third thing is your reviews. So those three things are the most important factors in getting found in the local algorithm, especially on maps. There's a few other things that you can do. Oh, by the way, all of this is free. Your Google business profile, it's free. You can do it in an afternoon. In addition to claiming your Google business profile, grab some registries and citations across the World Wide Web. I'll give you some examples so you'll create your Google business profile. You may also want to go in and claim your Bing profile, right? Yelp is another one. Be very careful with Yelp because it's very rare that businesses are successful with Yelp ads, and Yelp has a really aggressive sales strategy. So when you create your Yelp page, just as an aside. The other thing that I would encourage you not to forget are social media channels. So don't forget to optimize your Facebook business page, create an Instagram business page, and honestly, grab them all. And if you're not going to use them, that's fine. I usually don't recommend more than 2 business channels for social media. It's too much if you do more, but you can certainly grab those handles and say you can find us here or link to your website or something from all those handles. So say you're not using TikTok, but you can claim your TikTok and then send them to your website from TikTok. Say like, hey, if you're looking to find us, you'll find us here. What that does is Google will find your name, address, and phone number across the internet and recognize you as an authority or trustworthy. So a good answer to give to the query that people are placing in search engines. And then if you can, do a content management, create a blog. If you can, businesses that blog and blog strategically with search in mind. Year 1, on average, they increase their traffic by 12%. Year 2 is the 12% plus another 14%, and year 3 is 40% on top of the 12 and the 14. So it compounds itself. And search engine is a long burn, slow burn, long-standing strategy. It's not something like you're not going to index and create your site and put all the content on and tomorrow you're going to get found perfectly. It really takes some time for Google to optimize everything for search. And the best time to have started was before, but the second best time is today. Okay. Looking at your analytics once you've done, looking at where you started and where you're going or where you've moved to is incredibly important. If it's not measured, how do you know it was effective, right? And so here are the metrics. If you're looking at analytics, and you can set up Google Analytics, or you can put an application onto your website that will give you your analytics in a little bit more simple, way. Here are the 3 things I recommend you look at. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't look at other things. It means that these are the 3 things that you should look at. And if these are okay and they're clicking along and you're good with them, you don't probably need to dig too much deeper. Just keep doing what you're doing and improving gradually. But if they're dropping, then you want to dig into the more discrete data elements or more in-depth analytics assessment to figure out what the problem is. Here are the 3 things. The first thing I would recommend you look at are the pages that get the most views. The reason you want to look at the pages that get the most views are because those are the pages you want to spend your time on. Don't spend your time on, you know, the esoteric 10 clicks in page that really only one person will ever look at, and you just have it there because the information needs to be there, right? Spend your time on the pages that people are going to. That's typically your homepage, your about page, and your contact form. If you're a product or service, you may want to focus on those as well, but your home and about page need to be on point, okay? So spend time looking at the pages, look at the pages that get the most views and spend your time there. Don't waste your time in the other ones. We're all busy. We don't have a lot of it. As business owners, we don't have time to waste. Spend your time on those pages. Look at the time that someone spends on your site. I do like to see a minimum of 30 seconds at minimum, or longer, okay? That means that someone has come to your site, was interested, and didn't click away immediately. As that's a good place to start, but you definitely want to, as you create more content, increase your goal of time on site because you want people reading your content and flipping through your pages. So the first is look at pages that get the most views so you can work on those. The second is the number of seconds or minutes that someone spends on your site. And the third is where you're getting traffic from. Okay, because then you want to do more things there. So if you're getting a lot of traffic from Facebook, I'm not saying that you will. Facebook is fine, but I think sometimes social media is overused as a marketing tool for small business when there are other things that are a little bit easier. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do social media. But if you're getting a lot of traffic from Facebook, do more on Facebook. That means people are looking for you on Facebook. Get found better on Facebook. Learn how Facebook works. If people are finding you on LinkedIn, do that, right? If people are finding you on Google search, that's great. You know, do more of what works. Please don't spend your time on things that aren't going to work in your business. Do more of what is working for your business. And I can't speak about search engine optimization without doing a brief overview of AI. And so artificial intelligence is huge now. It's a great time saver. If you're only using AI and you're not really doing a lot of your due diligence, you will see drop-offs. Google does an update about every quarter, and I literally see if clients aren't doing our search program, but they're on our maintenance plan. I can see like the stair drop off on the Google updates, right? As AI has taken effect. So I can recommend a few things about AI. The first is there's some great tools out there to help you write content. You can either use it as a starting point or a finishing point. It can't be your whole piece of content strategy, meaning like write a blog on blah, 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 and then posting that blog. What you could do is write the blog yourself or the piece of content or the web page and put it in to AI and say, the goal of my website is to do X, Y, Z. These are the keywords I'm targeting. Here's my customer avatar that we're looking to appeal to. And here's the product that we're looking to sell that solves this problem. Can you please organize this content for search? Or can you please make this content conversational for a blah, 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 right? So that's a way that you could use AI. And then you still need to go in and edit it. Or you could start with something and then edit it yourself in the end, right? Create a search engine optimized blog post on Barbie's dream house with, 300 words that appeals to this audience. And then you need to go in and adjust it yourself. And I really like to do those things in separate pages, separate queries. In AI, my AI use, my prompts are usually longer than the content that comes out because I'm so specific in what I'm asking it to do. So if I'm asking AI to do something for me, I actually love the little microphone that you can use on your computer, and I talk to AI just like I would to an employee or a team member, and I give it edits and notes and go back and forth with it. It makes it a little bit faster, but you still need to communicate your goals and your purpose for using it. In the chat, I'm going to drop this website checklist. Oops, excuse me, I almost knocked my computer over. For everybody that you can download. And that will give you a list of just the things that you need to make sure are on your website itself for search. And I encourage you to use that and reach out if you have any questions. You can certainly reach out to Jasper at SCORE, but here is my contact information. Feel free to reach out for anything or follow us on Instagram. We've got lots of great content and tips and tricks on Instagram. We also, if you go to WonderWeb's website, we have a great blog that tells you how to do every single thing that we talked about today in an individual blog. And our goal is to, give you things to do that you can do in like 2 minutes or less, right? Super, super simple things to do. And if you would like to get a SCORE mentor, here is the QR code to scan and sign up for SCORE mentoring. I had a SCORE mentor when I first started my business, and man, I was appreciative of that. So helped us get a really good idea of our customer base is what my SCORE mentor focused on. With that in mind, let's open it up for questions. We've got about 5 or 7 minutes. If anyone wants to ask specific questions about your business, I'd be happy to give very specific guidance.
Well, if no one has one starting off, I have one, maybe get the ball rolling here. We've recently started a hub for our SCORE mentors to get all the resources they could need to mentor clients. And there are some pages that maybe they're not reaching. You said that like if there's a put the effort into the page that everyone sees, do you think that maybe we should move information to the more access page, or maybe put a better call to action in and drive them to the other tabs on the site?
So Jasper, you're saying you have a resource hub on your website, the SCORE website, that your mentors can use to look for resources?
Yeah, we have not only, for mentors, but also for anyone available if you head to the SCORE website. But we're seeing we want more people to see that we want people to get mentored, but we also want to provide these resources for everyone.
Yeah. Is it is it in the menu itself now?
It is it is just one of the tabs on next to our workshops page that you would have registered for this workshop. But I
Yeah,
think some people's mice just don't find their way that 1 inch to the right.
sure. Let me,
Uh,
why don't we do this? Why don't I pull it up right now and we can take a look? So
yeah,
it's,
and it'd be good for everyone as well. We can
yeah.
uh,
So
take a look at it.
the website is, hold on, I just need to, okay, so I'm gonna, stand by.
And don't take too much time on mine if anyone else has
Yeah,
other
it's,
questions. I we just a lot of the I guess a bigger problem with it too is that we don't directly maintain our website. We have a service that does it for us. So,
yeah,
but Dan Reed and I are always trying to brainstorm new fun things to get clients and mentors more engaged.
right. Yeah, we have worked with, let's see here. Is it Score Main is the website?
Just score.org, but we also have a internal website now, but that's a different story. That one's only for the mentors. But
Got it.
if anyone
Let
else
me,
does have questions, I believe there is a raise hand function in this Zoom call, or you can put your question in the chat and I'll read it off.
so I'm going to share in the meantime, I'm going to share my screen here. Um, Here we go. So you should see your website right now, is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. And so you'll need to enter your zip code in order to get to our resources tab. But
Yeah, so
same thing.
this is a really good user experience question. So I would do one of two things. I would have an area here where someone can automatically enter the zip code without having to click
Mm,
in. right? So this is a user
Totally.
experience issue. Or the other thing you could do is make it a button that stands out a little bit more by changing the color or changing the color
Yeah.
of this entire section. Or so that the guidance is you skim over it. So when you're thinking about the way that I works, is
Hmm.
it's not really standing out enough. So I would,
Totally.
yeah, I
Yeah, and you
would
have to
do
scroll
one of
down a
those two
little bit
things.
if you, yeah, if there is a field, but you have to scroll down to it. So sometimes it's
Yeah,
not immediately visible as well. I agree.
yeah, yeah. So, and the way that an eye works is usually when someone comes to a website, they read in a Z. So they'll start in the upper left-hand corner, zip across to the right. So this is the upper right-hand corner is a really high value area. So you might
Hmm.
want to put it up there, and then they go
Totally.
diagonally and then go across, right? So you're not
Yeah.
really meeting eye mapping either. So there's, when you think
Yeah.
about those things, there's some user experience opportunity there.
Totally. I'll see what I can get in touch with our, our provider for, and maybe mixing the site up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thanks for
Any
the
other
information.
questions come through?
I unfortunately not. Before we end here, does anyone have anything before we head out? I know that we had a few people that did engage with putting in their resources, and here we go, Jordy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, Jordy.
Hello, this was fantastic, very informative. I don't know if this falls completely in the purview of uh, the scope of this presentation, but in my line of work in health and fitness, I have worked with like a lot of different we call them populations, but
Mhm.
demographics. And I think one of the problems with my current website, there are many, but I think one of them is that I provide so many different services, and I'm wondering if I should really focus on like picking one and
Mhm.
focusing more on that. To give you an example, like with the clients I see that are over, some of them are strictly rehabilitative. They're in a lot of pain. They need to get out of pain. I have a number of clients that have growing issues, pain among them, but other ones with aging. And so
Mhm.
part of my demographic or focus is successful aging. I have some clients whose primary thing is that they need to learn how to de-stress,
Okay.
or they're athletes recovering from an injury or wanting to perform better. And so my landing page, my homepage is pretty long, and I think I just have too many things on there.
Mhm.
And I love doing them all, but I wonder if at least because I'm starting my business up again, I've moved from Southern California to here and I
Okay.
provide my services locally. Does it make sense to pick like one of them to focus on to start with?
Yeah, I need to know a lot more about your business to give some really specific guidance and
Right,
the customer um, region, like what's available in the region, right? So you could target.
right.
Having said that, when we have businesses that have services that provide like that have different customer avatars, I
Hmm.
consider those different businesses. If, in my
Oh,
opinion, I
uh-huh.
consider those different because you're speaking a different language, you're solving
Yeah,
a different problem, and you're speaking in sort of a different dialect because
yeah.
your goal is to deliver the messaging in a way that appeals to the person receiving it, not the
Hmm.
way, you know what I'm saying, to get the
Yeah.
result that you want. And so in those cases, what I typically would do if you're really it sounds like you're not 100% committed, and that's a branding question to niching. And you may not need to, right? You can niche into an area, a physical area, and not necessarily a service in that physical. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a specific type of service. And in Maine, sometimes that's required, right? Because
Mhm.
we're not as populated as some other areas.
Right,
So, so I can't give you advice on that. But what I will say is if you do decide to niche, really understand the customer you're niching into and make sure you
right.
have a lot of them, right?
Hmm.
If you decide to keep your different sectors of your business, the way we've handled this in the past is what we've done is a really good introduction that sort of appeals to everybody. And then we've had like boxes on the page that like pathways that they could take that would
Hmm.
take them to
Yeah,
different parts of the site. By keeping that super simple, like there shouldn't be 10 different pathways. There should be like
right.
pain, right?
Right.
aging and wellness, right? Or healthy aging, or you want to say it in a positive way. Like copywriting does never comes off the tip of the tongue. And then the third, usually I recommend 3, no more than 3, but
Right.
and then having the separate landing pages for them each. And have them be their own individual landing pages that are optimized as a landing page, as though it were its own website, right? Each page. So that's what we've done at Team WonderWeb in the past, when businesses either are focusing on a few different things where the different avatars or client bases are of need in order to have a livelihood. But then you can always specialize if the area will sustain it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because as you're talking about these things, I'm realizing that from images to the language that's used, the colors, but like especially images and the tone are rather different from one to the other. And I have thought about in the past, and maybe I'm going to rethink that, is actually having separate websites, because they can be like, while pain can overlap with successful aging, I have clients that are rather young that are coming
Yeah.
in because of chronic pain. And so those are rather different dialogues and images. So,
One of the things that I want to make sure you understand, I didn't recommend separate websites,
right,
separate
no,
pages
yes.
on the website that could be their own individual landing pages that someone could go to without going to your homepage, right?
Oh, yes, I did understand that distinction you
Okay.
made, but
Okay.
I glossed over it. So,
Okay.
and a landing page in this case would be, that way I do control the image, the colors, the flavor of it, even though it still falls under one website.
Correct. One overarching site. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. That was very valuable. Thank you very much.
If you're having different locations, then you could technically do different websites, but if it's all physically in one location, my recommendation is to keep it simple.
Perfect. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Jordy.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyone else with anything today? Anyway, well, in that case, thanks everyone. Thank you so much, Corey. You're a great presenter, and it's very valuable information for anyone hoping to, keep their website up to date. Want to thank you again for presenting, and one more touch on us at SCORE. We're a free nonprofit business mentoring, and we offer free coaching for anyone in any part of their business, any section of their business's life, from starting it to selling it. You can get a free mentor by either scanning the code that we presented earlier that I will be sending out with the slide deck, or by visiting score.org. It's one more time. It's completely free, and we hope to hear back from everyone soon. One more time, thank you, Corey, and I hope everyone has a great day.